We talked a little bit earlier about one of the great rivalries in baseball history, the Yankees and Red Sox with the Bucky Dent game. But another great rivalry in New York, especially in the 1950s and 1940s, was the Brooklyn Dodgers and New York Yankees. And it began in 1941. The Yankees and Dodgers played each other. And in that game, the Yankees were ahead 2-1, but it looks like Brooklyn's going to win Game 4 until the sure-handed Mickey Owens drops a third strike late in the game that would have almost led certainly to a Brooklyn victory in a 2-2 series tie. By dropping that ball, allowed Tommy Hendricks of the Yankees to reach first base. The Yankees had a miracle rally to win that game, and they beat the demoralized Dodgers the next day to win the World Series. And that's basically where the term "wait till next year" starts in Brooklyn, which will finally come in 1955. We'll get there in a little bit. So we have the 5 tickets, as you can see, part of our formula, and we have some great images. But this is what I'd like to point out, because we like history in our pieces. So in 1941, when the Yankees defeat the Dodgers 4-1 to win the World Series, we have a program signed by the Dodgers and Yankees. The question I have for you out there is, who is the figure on the program? Can I give you a little bit of time? Well, I'll tell you who it's not. It's not Benjamin Franklin. That's a guess a lot of people have when they come to the show. And first of all, Franklin's associated with Philadelphia. These are 2 New York teams. And it's not Branch Rickey, some people have said. But the hint I will give you is there's a team in New York named after him, and it was a term used to define or describe a New Yorker in the 20s and 30s and 40s. It's very rarely used. Okay, I'll give you another few seconds. Okay, it's Father Knickerbocker. Yes, Father Knickerbocker, who the New York Knicks are named after. And kids today have no idea what a Knickerbocker is. So it's basically a mythological figure. I believe Washington Irving wrote it in one of his books. And what it was a term used to describe New York in the 20s, 30s, and 40s. So if you were in New York and you were traveling to Philadelphia or Boston, a lot of times when you came into the room, a Knickerbocker entered. So the interesting part about that, in 1946, just 5 years after this program is shown, the NBA comes to existence. And what was the nickname they used for the New York franchise? The Knickerbockers. And it made complete sense. That was a term that was used back then. It's very rarely used today. I think it kind of went out of style in the late 60s, maybe early 70s. But I think it was a great nickname. However, today, if a New York franchise started, chances of being called the Knickerbockers would never have been picked or selected. So again, I love bringing history into our pieces, and I hope you enjoy this work as well. Well, as we just showed in our previous piece of Wait Till Next Year finally arrives in 1955. We had so much interesting information that we couldn't do it all in one display. We actually had to do it in 3 pieces, almost like a triptych. What you see here among our most important items, again, are the 7 tickets. It won 7 games. And finally, Johnny Padres wins Game 7, and Brooklyn is elated and goes crazy for their one and only championship. What we also bring to attention of people are, you need, besides tickets to go to a game, and again, as I've explained before, or always bring up, vintage tickets are very, very important in our pieces, and you don't get them anymore, especially for important events. Tickets, or you get no tickets all through the phone. So we're really thrilled that we have all 7 tickets here. The other thing is you need transportation. How are you going to go to a game? Walk, subway, or bus? As you see in the first panel over there, we have a really unique item showing the bus signage as you would take the B39, B40, and B41 bus. You would start off at Williamsburg Bridge, you would go to Ralph Avenue, and you'd get off at Flatbush Avenue, which is Ebbets Field stop. And we thought it was really cool inclusion in this particular display. We also have the Jackie Robinson autograph, but you have to have Jackie Robinson, he was such a special player. We also celebrate the famous play when Yogi Berra tags out Jackie Robinson, or so he thought. The umpire ruled differently, and Yogi went to his grave thinking that Jackie was out, and Jackie went to the grave thinking he was safe. So, the 2 great players with different opinions. The other thing I find interesting, of course, are press passes and working passes. And this actually belonged to Ned Fleischer, who was a well-noted boxing writer in New York in the 50s. Probably one of our other prized items is the Schaefer Beer team photo, which is a rare item that came out, the following year to celebrate that great team. And very rarely have I seen one, and then when I see them, they usually rip to shreds. It's made of a kind of a poor cardboard. We think we have probably the finest example of this particular mode of showing the great 55 Dodger championship team. Some of the other items that we have are all the autographs of all the players. So you'll see all the team signed by many of them, and then individually. We also have, of course, Vin Scully, the announcer, and even Tommy Lasorda was part of that team. Also, what we show is a rendition of a stadium that the Dodgers wanted to have to stay in Brooklyn. Of course, it never happened. But if you take a look at it, it's very modern. And remember, that's 1955. You almost feel that that stadium could be built today, and it would still look great. We have so many items to go over, but another item that we have is a program from the '55 World Series signed by Don Newcombe, one of the great pitchers in the Dodgers pitching staff. For anybody who wants to celebrate Brooklyn's one World Series championship, there's nothing you'll ever get that comes close to what we think is the epitome of a Brooklyn Dodger 1955 celebration display.